And I believe we're live.
Hey, morning,
Hello,
guys.
How's everyone doing on this fine day, wherever it might be? Might be in nighttime. Who knows? Yeah. So first of all, Jaspas, thank you so much for joining us on this stream.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, of course. Yeah. No, it's always good to have great people on here, and you're one of them. So, yeah.
Stop it.
Oh, oh please. So yeah. So I have a bunch of questions on this whiteboard that you can't see. A bunch of other people have some questions. People are going to have questions in chat. Just as a heads up, if you have a question in the chat, it's best if you preface this with the letter Q and a colon. So yes, of course, I have to manage the whole camera stuff. Q colon and then put your question, because there's a lot of stuff in the chat and you guys are talking to each other. So it's more convenient if you have to put the Q in front so you can just kind of look through it and find some questions.
Oh, Matt, it looks like the camera is sort of like stuck on me.
Yep. Yeah, I fixed it. This is always something I'm struggling with, but I promise I'll give it a shot. Because Google tries to do a thing where it like puts the camera on the person who's talking, but if I cough, then it'll put it on me. But you don't want to see me cough. So let's get started. Let's look at some questions. I think we should start with the basics. Like, you might be biased, but what is your favorite deck of cards? That's always an important one.
Obviously, I would have to say it's the NDO cards, but if we set aside NDO playing cards, I really like old start playing cards, the vintage ones. Those are really good. Vodkas?
Vodkas, yeah. Which one do you mean by vintage one?
Let me pull them up real quick.
All right.
In a moment.
All right, just a moment. Yeah. But no video? Are people having problems with the video? You can watch me in the middle. There you go. Oh, studs, of course.
Yes. The ones that are like a more neon color. I love these cards so much.
Is it the design in particular, or just the finish?
It's the handling of the cards and the finish and the basically everything about the cards.
Yeah.
So good.
Great. And you mentioned NDO decks, but which one are you particularly proud of? Which one do you like the most?
I really like the GDCMs. Mostly because I like how we just slapped a huge amount of foil on the backs for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
For those who don't know, there's one card as well who is inverse. You can barely see it because it's so reflective. You can even see the little light on my microphone. But yeah. Cool. All right, and so other question that constantly pops up all the time is, what is your favorite flourish, both by you as a cardist, but also by other people?
Wow, this question. My favorite flourish. Andrew Avila, his move, the Prism card. The way it just spins in the hand. Not the super tall ones, but like the singular ones. The way it spins in the hand, and it's moderately easy to get into. Spins, it looks so impossible.
Right.
And after that, I really like the Prism that is like 2 levels, and then he sort of slides one out.
Yeah.
And they just spin here.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
That's wild. Apparently, apparently, as you might expect, it's a really hard move to pull off at all. And part of the reason you see Andrew smiling in that video is because it's one of the few takes that actually works. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine? It's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 10-packet cut in 2 hands.
I never thought of it like that, but yeah, that is when you put it like that, it really is crazy. And you're not even touching half the packets because you have the things in the middle. Yeah. It's crazy.
Tremendous.
I guess part of what's difficult in asking you what's your favorite flourish is that you've been doing cardistry for so long. How long?
I think it's 14 years.
14 years?
When I was 13, 14, 15 years old until now. So about 14 years to 15 years.
Right. Yeah, which is it's a long time. I don't want to dwell on that, but
my heart.
No, but it's interesting because as a result, you've necessarily seen a lot of cardistry. And so if we, first of all, 14 years ago, there was a lot less cardistry that existed in general. So what got you interested in cardistry? What attracted you to it? Did you do magic before? How did you start?
Before I started cardistry, I was into magic. And before that, I was into XCM. But no. I take that back. I was into breakdancing.
Breakdancing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was not good. I could do like, the worm.
Right.
And I could do normal cartwheels. But that's it. That's the extent of my ability in terms of breakdancing. So Kevin and I, when we were in secondary 1 or 2, Kevin Ho from the Verts, we tried to learn breakdancing, and at the same time we were playing this card game called Raw Deal, which is based on WWE, the Wrestling Federation.
Right.
Wrestling Entertainment, rather. And at that same time, we were also starting to pick up magic. So one day, I think it was either Kevin said it to me or I said to Kevin, do you realize that if we keep doing breakdancing, we probably shouldn't be doing magic too much, because we might actually hurt ourselves and then we can't do either things. We lose a lot of time invested in both of it. And if we do magic, we probably shouldn't do breakdancing, because right. So we got together and then we talked about it for a while, and then we decided, yeah, let's do magic. We're gonna be magicians when we grow up. We're gonna be hardcore magicians. Oh yeah, David Blaine. Oh yeah, you're gonna levitate in the streets. We're gonna do that, but better. So we started like torrenting, downloading, pirating, doing all the bad things in the world to like learn all the expensive tricks. We learned tricks that had like, please buy a pair of shoes and cut the bottom of your shoes out so you can do the exact same trick, but with more angles.
Wow. I never thought of that. That's pretty brilliant.
Yes, except for you're walking around the streets the entire day with a hole in your shoe.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, we did magic, and after doing magic for a while, Kevin changed schools in when he was 15, when we were 15 years old. He changed to an American school, and basically I was left to do my own magic stuff, and he did his own magic stuff. And one day he comes to me and then he says, Jaspas, I learned this super cool thing. Have you heard of the Buck twins? No? Who are the Buck twins? I say, and please guys in the chat, please don't take that out of context. I know the internet can be a very scary place, but yeah, don't take that out of context. Who are the Buck twins was what I said at that point in time. And then he showed me, he didn't show me 5 faces or anything by the Bucks. He showed me BRS, Blind Rotational Civil. Have you heard of that?
I have no idea what that is.
Watch this. Watch this. Boom, boom, boom.
What?
Blind.
What a cut.
And I think at that point of time, the main idea behind it is the creator Caps Casino. He wanted like a false card that at the same time doesn't rotate cards and put them back. He wanted it to be completely neutral in case he was working with maybe a stripper deck or a one-way design deck.
Right. Oh, interesting.
So it's the kind of things that we don't think about anymore in today's cardistry scene. Yeah. But when he showed me that, boom, mind blown. No, actually, when he showed me that, I was like, this shit is stupid. Just stop doing this shit. Let's stick to magic, man. Magic, we shouldn't show our skills when we do magic. It should feel like it's real magic. I said to him, I remember. Or
yeah, that's a classic view.
3 months passed, and he improved, and he started learning more powerful stuff like the stuff by the Buck twins, and like Chris Kenner's stuff, and then he
Right.
shows me 5 faces smooth in 3 months. At that point of time, it was really fast progress. He just goes close.
Right.
Boom! That was the moment that I was like, oh shit, this is like our breakdancing history and our magic history. We just combined it, and I don't need to do it to entertain people. Oh yes. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And at first I wanted to also do cardistry at the same time. Cardistry and card magic at the same time to sort of like to not feel like this amount of time was wasted. But in half a year I gave up on magic.
Yeah, because cardistry is just objectively cooler. Sorry, magicians in the chat. You know it's true. What I like about the story is that you bring together breakdancing with magic, and that is a way to combine it to cardistry. I've never heard of it like that, and it does make sense. And also like what you said about you don't have to do it for people, because I also did magic at some point, but I never liked to perform at all. I just like the little slides. Doing it in front of the mirror. Actually, not in front of the mirror. I just want like doing it to myself. And then I was like, wait a second. I can do cardistry, which is just for me, and not care about an audience. And that's how I got launched.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so in a way, we're not so different, you and I.
I think that's a very familiar story for a lot of magicians that become cardists.
Right.
Is that they themselves don't really enjoy the process of going out to perform, and especially as kids, like when I started, and maybe when you started, the age that you start, when you perform for older people or more mature people don't take you seriously. It's like, oh, it's a kid doing magic tricks. Yes. That's cute. So I think for the younger performers, particularly younger magicians, they have a certain amount of like resistance they have to go through before they can get like genuine reactions from genuine strangers other than people their own age, which is completely different for cardistry, because regardless of your age, if you can do that, people will see and like, holy shit, is this a family friendly like
Yes, yeah, sure, it's fine. Okay. I'd like to say we'll bleep it, but we won't. It's fine. It's the internet.
Yeah, no, it's never happening, huh? So as long as you see somebody handling cards and going at a moderate speed, or doing a flicker shot or any aerial at a moderate speed, to layman it's objectively cool.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing, is that I think on one hand, like the reason a lot of magicians do magic and learn a bunch of different flights and try to learn as much as possible is not so much for their performance, but for themselves, because really you don't need to know that much stuff to fool people, because when you have laymen, they just cycle through, they don't have a memory of what you've already done and stuff like that. And so there's a component which is just, I just like learning stuff and doing stuff with cards because it's a really fascinating medium. And cardistry is kind of taking that, dropping the audience part, and saying, I just like mechanics that happen with cards. And yeah, and I like what you said about especially when you're a kid and you're trying to do magic, no one takes you seriously. So I think that also kind of explains why so many cardists are so young. I think on top of being young and not having as many responsibilities and having more time, it's a lot easier to get into cardistry and spend 12 hours in your room doing cardistry. That's fine. More when you're young than not so. But also just like that transition period from being a magician and not being remotely appreciated for the magic that you do, but just because you're a kid trying to do something that people have seen grown-ups do. It's like, oh, that's cute. And yeah, I could see that driving people away from cardistry, and driving people away from magic and then putting them towards cardistry. So that's a really interesting insight. Now, shifting into the future, I think one of the most interesting things about you as a person, as a cardist, is that you make a living off of cardistry in a way that's pretty unique. And part of that is because everyone who makes a living off of cardistry is very different from each other. But you have your own YouTube channel, you have New Deck Order, you have the School of Cardistry, you have all these different projects that are going on in your life. From what I know, it's what supports you. And that's how you make a living. So I'm curious about what was the transition point? What was like the point at which you realized, wait a second, I can do cardistry full time, not just like playing with cards, but also doing all these projects that are that make other people happy. What was the turning point where you realized this is what my life is now?
It's really interesting the way the question is phrased makes it very difficult to answer in my situation. Like, there wasn't really a moment that I realized that cardistry has become my life. It's more of a, when I was, in Singapore, you need to go through military service. It's compulsory military service. So that's 2 years of your life. So I go through junior college, and that's when I'm 18. I go through military service, I'm 20. I go through university, I'm 24. Or at the end of 24, at the beginning of 25, somewhere there. And then I realized, oh crap. All my friends that didn't go through formal education in the mainstream way, i.e. go to university, get a degree, etc., etc. The people that, say, dropped out at the end of what I would imagine is grade 10, i.e. when they're 16, they say, screw school, I'm going to go into the working world, I'm going to find a way to make it work.
Right.
They were earning way more than I was because they have the job experience. Right. And regardless of the career path I chose at that point of time, I realized it doesn't matter, I'm way behind them. Sure, over a few years, I might grow and have, a better income. But on one hand, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to do a 9 to 5. On the other hand, I think it's quite evident that the path that I took already is a bit off. If it's the wrong path. If my main goal is to earn money,
right?
I think.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, what do I really want from life? Do I really need the money? Not really. What I really want is to leave some sort of legacy, some sort of like proof that I existed, even though the real me has died. I want someone to remember, like, oh, there was this guy, Jaspas. He had a card called Jaspas card, and it was gigantic. It's kind of cool. I kind of like it, but I heard this guy called Jaspas. This anyway. Let's not talk about that meme. So I want the future people to be able to remember that, and the meme helps in bringing it to the forefront currently, but it's not particularly.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a long run
being
thing.
The internet.
Yeah. So I want a way to immortalize myself within this art form that I really, really love.
Right.
And I thought to myself, yeah, I'm gonna start a cardistry company. I'm gonna find a way to make it work. And in the beginning, it was really tough. In the first year, I think I earned a total of $360 a month for the entire year. 360 was like just keeping these lights on for an entire year. I don't think 360 is enough.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough.
So it was a lot of like, and this was with like constantly pushing my platform, i.e. the Jaspas Deck and the New Deck Order. At that point of time, it's new. Oh no, wait. First came School of Cardistry, and I didn't show my face on it for the first 2 seasons because I wanted to see whether it's viable and whether or not people think it's a silly idea, or people think, I just want to test the water. So I sent it out. quite good growth in the beginning. I think we hit 2, 3, 4K in half a year to a year. Can't really remember. And then I realized, there is a group of people that really want to see these kind of things. So as that was going on, at the same time, I started producing content for the new deck order itself. And at the point of time, our first project was COSI, the Cardistry of Southeast Asia DVD. That one was tough, man. So what happened was that we wanted to go to Kickstarter because Kickstarter seems to be a better platform for playing cards or cardistry in general. And this Indiegogo has a negative stigma attached to it. Like, I remember posting the Indiegogo link on some places, and the comment section was just, "Oh, Indiegogo, I don't really trust it. Indiegogo, isn't this a place where people like take the money and run? Isn't this a place where people beg for help, beg for donations?"
Interesting. Never heard that.
And people realize, the new deck order is using flexible pricing. So basically, any amount of money we get, we will get it, and then we'll produce the thing, regardless of whether we hit our goal or not.
Interesting.
And people are like, this is a brand new company. They are using flexible pricing, and their project sounds huge. It sounds like, wow, they're going to travel to all these countries, and they only want what we said was $8,000. So we're printing cards, we're printing DVDs, we're traveling to shoot the documentary. $8,000. They're like, nah, it's fake. Nah. So the card collecting companies, card collectors, didn't trust me at all because they don't know who this Jaspas guy is. But the cardistry scene, some people turned out, and then they like the people that actually came to support the project, I really can't stress how much help they provided. And it's like, without them, Andy was dead. And despite all the strong support from the small number of people, we didn't hit the target. We didn't hit 8,000. We hit like, I can't remember if it's 3 point something or 5 point something.
And 8,000 already seems pretty tight for the projects. So not hitting that sounds rough.
Yeah, it was rough. Ansel in the comment section says, "You're welcome, Jaspas." Thank you, Ansel. Thank you. Thank you to if any of you guys were in the helped out on the what is it called, fundraising of COSI. Thank you so much. Seriously, thank you. So we used that amount of money, and we realized that we couldn't cover all the travel costs for Loretta and myself, because I needed somebody to do camera work, and if we did events, I want somebody that is on my side that can sort of like dictate the flow of the entire thing. So what we did is we did lectures at every single place. We wanted to do like cardistry meetup and jams with new cards, but it became lectures. And then we realized, oh no, the amount of money we wanted to charge, i.e. $50 for the lecture, is way too expensive for the Southeast Asian countries. Like for majority of it, particularly the cardistry market. And the magic market was still okay because, you know, they've dealt with the US magicians, and then they understand, oh, magic is an expensive thing. Magician's wax, one bottle, $39 or something like that. And it was just like, oh, it's kind of like, what's it called? Blue tack?
Yeah.
That wasn't cool. Either way, so the cardistry market wasn't used to that kind of pricing for lectures. So what we eventually did is we wrapped everything together. We're like, okay, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get the lecture, you're gonna get the deck, you're gonna get to meet Jaspas, and the entire thing is the price of one deck, $13.
Wow.
Yes. And the people that wanted to support it more, they could buy a few more decks. And through just selling cards as hard as we could, We managed to pay for our accommodation. We managed to fly here, fly there. In total, I think our profit that year was like, no, not profit. Our revenue was
Important difference.
profit or revenue? Oh, sorry, profit. Yeah, was
Okay.
I think $5,000 throughout the entire year, split among 2 people.
Right. That's also not a lot.
It's rough. So after that, we went into School of Cardistry. Oh, did I answer the question already? What's the question?
No, I mean, you can keep going. This is a free form medium. But I think this is a fascinating story. And yeah, I mean, I was just curious about originally I was curious about the turning point in your life. But there seems to be multiple turning points. And so I don't know, keep on going.
Yep. So the moment I decided that I want to do a cardistry company, that was the first moment that it defined the rest of the path. Then deciding to do COSI was the second one. For COSI, I couldn't have done it without the people who backed the project. My parents, who also backed the project, and in fact they backed, I think, about $500 into there. I was
wow.
I felt really bad taking their money, even though I'm an adult now.
Right.
But, thanks Dad, thanks Mom. Okay, so them, and then there is the Grand Rumor Mill, which is a hidden Singapore group of cardists that you guys see on the vlog sometimes, and they supported me so much. They supported me financially by buying the project, even though they know they could just ask me for it, and I would like, it's okay, bro. Yeah, have a download.
Right.
By the point of time, we really needed the funding, so they helped out with that. Then they came to a 24-hour live stream for the last day of the thing. Right. And then we just slogged out 24 hours of live streaming. It was terrible, but fun. And we made it happen, despite all the things that could have went wrong. Then we tried, after the COSI project, which didn't make us much money, but did help put us like on the map of cardists in the world, at least to a small degree. We did School of Cardistry, the first deck, the black and white deck.
Right.
And it was supposed to feel the cards were supposed to feel exactly the same as COSI's, but it turned out very, very different. Yep.
Was that a USPCC deck?
Oh no, we wanted to find our own like supplier.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
the supplier didn't get it exactly right. In fact, he got it very, very, very different from the original deck. And that became a problem. And we were also being a bit more ambitious, because we realized that because of how the first deck COSI's were, you had to buy 1 DVD, and then you can buy up to 3 decks, up to 12 decks. So it's like an add-on.
Right.
We realized, we almost sold out all of our COSI's, even though there was this paywall of a DVD in front. Maybe if we print cards, it'll sell out faster. So we printed 3,000 decks, and it did not sell out.
Oh no.
It did not. Even right now, I have some SOC V1s right now.
Really? Wow.
And right now, everything on our website is listed as sold out, but that's because there's some changes in the
Jaspas, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We lost you for about a second, so
okay.
We're good.
Yep. So it made me really worried. No, sorry. The postal office this year changed some stuff, and shipping prices are way more expensive right now. We are like remodeling the entire back end of the company. Either way, so SOC V1 until now not sold out, but SOC V2s are sold out, and 3s as well.
Well, so that's good.
So,
so it seems like it was a bit of a rough start, a rough start for an extended period of time. But it sounds like things are doing well now. You got some sold out decks. You have a lot of decks. How many are you behind between New Deck Order and School of Cardistry?
We have 1 COSI, 3 Jaspas decks and 3 SOCs. So
Yeah,
total of 7 right now.
Right.
I think the 8th one's coming soon. Shouts to the Patreon gang. You guys know that it's coming soon, but it's coming soon, guys.
Ooh.
Please do look forward to it.
Make it 8.
Oh, actually, Matt, you've seen the cards. I showed it to you.
I have seen the cards.
Barcelona.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I expect half of the audience to be like, oh, and half of the audience to be like, oh shit, this is the bomb.
Yeah.
So
it's a bold deck, and I can appreciate it just for that. Because it's certainly not safe. But that's good. You gotta be more adventurous.
Yeah. In fact, actually, recently I've thought about that deck, and then I thought about how am I gonna like improve the design the next year, and I know what I'm gonna do to make it like even more ridiculous.
Okay. All right.
I want to design a deck that changes colors as you use it, like over time, and not over time. Through the process of using the cards, it changes colors.
Huh. Okay. Might need some
without special ink.
Without special ink.
Yes.
Bold. I don't know what you mean, but I can't wait to find out.
Yep. So that's for 2019. Sorry, guys.
2019, yeah. These things do take time. But all right. So I think what we can do now, people have been asking some questions just in general in the chat. I've been keeping track of them. So first of all, actually, this might be an interesting one. Kevin Hayes asking, tell us some behind the scenes of the Barcelona trip. Do you have anything that comes to mind? Because you posted the vlog, so you know what's on the vlog. I haven't watched the entire vlog, I must say. I'm sorry.
No worries. There was one night I remember I drank a little bit.
Just a tad. Not tiny bit.
And I wasn't feeling very good that day. I just wanted to like, hey, I'm out with the guys. I should probably have a small drink with them. And then I went to sleep like, I think midnight or slightly before that, which is very odd for me. Normally I sleep at 6 a.m. I went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night. I went to the toilet. It was a long night because I kept waking up, kept going to puke, kept going to sleep. And the color of my puke changed throughout the night as well.
Oh,
so it started like.
Is that where the inspiration for the cards came from?
No. It was like Coke and then like stomach acid colors and
beautiful.
It was a terrible night. That's one of the most memorable things. Let me see.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for like a week-long trip, and you were sick for like an entire day, which sucks. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I mean, getting a chance to meet all of you guys, especially you, Matt, was very exciting. Like,
yeah, no, it's. I mean, I think what it meant to me, possibly more than some of the other people there, because you have a cardistry company, and so do Dimitri and Ladislas, so does Kevin. But I go to school. I do a lot of engineering things and stuff, and cardistry only takes up a certain amount of time, and even when it does take up time, it's like it's kind of just me on my own. Like, sure, I talk to people online and do these kinds of things, but I'm still alone in my room right now, mostly because I kicked out my roommate. And being in one place with like in a real place with 9 other cardists made cardistry feel really real in a way. Like you can put down your deck of cards, go to the sink, drink a bit of water, and then pick up another deck of cards there, because everyone has cards everywhere. You can put that down and go to the couch and then take another deck of cards, which is great. Like, it's not an experience you really get to get. And being able to just think about cardistry and also have connections with these people, pretty much like the only reason we were all in the same room is because of cardistry, which is great. Maybe not as much for you and Kevin, since you've known yourself from before, but like I only own all the people there because of cardistry, so it's kind of magical in that sense. And also Barcelona is a great place, so
yeah. Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah. A little bit cold for some people.
Yes.
Not necessarily everyone, depending on how how north you are. As for behind the scenes, Berger is from Sweden, where it is significantly colder, and so he was rocking like a long sleeve shirt, but no like jacket or anything, just the entire time because it was pretty warm for him. Whereas Jaspas and Kevin and whatnot were going along with
layers upon layers, huh? I remember there was one the first day I was there, I was wearing like, I'm very good with cold weather. I'm gonna throw a t-shirt on and then a jacket on and then I'm done. Let's go.
Ooh, bold.
By the 4th day or 5th day, I was like, yep, t-shirt on and then sweater on and then what was this called? A beanie on and then a jacket over or everything and then pull the hood up. Like, yeah, we're ready to go, guys. I'm not cold.
Yeah. Actually, Salvador, who was there for some of the time, came to the jams and stuff, which, by the way, was another great component to the thing. For some reason, all of our jams happened at the Juice Dudes, which is a great,
I think,
great name for a place, Juice Dudes. But Salvador is asking, what was the most surprising and cool thing that happened in the Barcelona trip?
Do you remember, like, okay, the cardistry stuff aside, do you remember this, what is it called? Poga Star, the guys with the cloth, the diamonds?
Oh, yeah.
And they were doing all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I think it changed my life.
It was really funny because it was kind of like, so for those who don't know, what happened is that we went to a park and we were setting up a jam and a bunch of cardists were meeting there. And at the same time, it looked like the same, like it was kind of like looking at a parallel universe where you see like different versions of yourself doing different things, but they're still all together. And so what they were doing is they had a piece of cloth and they spun it really fast and they just kind of tossed it around and kind of like throwing a pizza dough, if that makes any sense, and doing some crazy stuff with it. And it was really funny, at least to me, because it was like, we're all coming together and doing stuff with cards, and they're all coming together to do stuff with their things. We joked that, while we're doing our Cardistry they're doing their Tapestry Con.
I can't remember who was it that said this, but was it you? Was it you that came to me and then like, Jaspas, do you realize there are a lot more girls in that art form than in cardistry?
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I think it was Antoine, also known as Ryoma.
Yeah. Yes.
I definitely thought of it. I didn't try to point it out, but it is true.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is really interesting because, like, I don't think that cardistry is particularly, like, inherently, if you just took a snapshot of cardistry today, there's nothing inherently gendered about it. In the same way that I don't see anything particularly gendered about whatever they're doing. I can only think of it as like Tapestry Con now, which is probably not exactly the technical term. But yeah, and somehow, yeah, good.
Oh, I think what the difference is that makes it more appealing to girls is that, do you remember what they were doing at the beginning? In the little gazebo, they were sort of tossing it back and forth, and there's this interaction that happens when they're doing it. So they're like telling each other, "Oh, it's too high, it's too low, do this, do that, whatnot." And I realized that is something that cardists don't seem to do a lot, like, especially at Singapore cardistry meetups. Maybe it's because Asians are more shy with strangers. Maybe it's because the people that become cardists are a bit socially, like, recluse, so to speak.
Yeah, we're all weirdos. We can just say it.
So
it's fine, by the way.
Yes.
But we are.
So I think because of that, the girls that come to these kind of events, no one dares to talk to them, so to speak. Like,
oh, interesting.
I've seen events like jam sessions where like one guy brings his girlfriend along, or one guy brings his female friend along, and he sits down and then he just jams with his bros and like, hey, check out this new move, hey, where do you learn that, whatnot. And then the girl suddenly realizes, oh, my guy friend's missing. He just got sucked into a void, and now I'm alone here, and I don't know anyone. And the guy on my left keeps staring at me between cuts. Like the guy on my left is just doing like doing this, but not making an effort to talk to me. And she feels like a stranger, like an outsider.
Yeah,
so
it's weird.
Using a phone and has no interest in it. But I think if we particularly ask the people sort of like on top of the cardistry society and game society, where did that word come from? In the cardistry
community, perhaps.
Community. If we act as better role models to the younger cardists and show them how to interact in a nice and non-creepy way with like the girls that come, maybe that will help. But at the same time, as a 30-year-old right now, go and talk to 15-year-old girls and like, hey, how do you know about this and whatnot? It does seem a bit.
It's the kind of problem that is very easy to state, and in fact, the data that I have is from conducting a census of the community with 1,740 responses. 95% of those responses. Thank you.
That's
thank
amazing.
You for plugging in, by the way. Very much appreciated. But yeah, so 95% of those responses are from self-reported men, which is a lot. It's not even like, you know, because like it's the kind of thing that you kind of know. If you look especially at YouTube watch times and things like that, but you kind of hope that maybe it's not 95% of, because that's just crazy. Maybe it's more like 90%, 80%. No, it's not. And maybe that's because there's a lot of sampling bias because you know, I did it on Instagram, and Instagram's a platform with its own quirks, and you know, just certain types of people managed to see the survey in the first place. But it is still kind of an interesting question to think about. How do you solve this problem? Because I think you could say it's a problem. I mean, I think you could make the argument that a community that is more diverse, that has more gender diversity, does better because you know, more people with different backgrounds think about different things, which means you have more creativity, and which is why I think it's a problem. It's because we don't have that, or could have that more. But it's hard to do in a genuine way where you don't, you know, put emphasis on people disingenuously. At the same time, it's just a very hard thing. I've thought about this a fair bit. Haven't come up with a solution. But I think you're right in that it definitely starts with you know, people at the top of the community, like the forefront of the community, people that everyone sees, making an example. It's certainly the case in what do you call STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, where there's also a gender imbalance, and it's there's a lot of research that shows that, you know, seeing people of your that you can identify with do something means that you're more likely to do that thing. And because there's so many dudes in cardistry, a woman that sees any cardistry content is a lot more likely to not be interested in it by it because you can't identify with the person. All that to say, it's a very tricky situation, and I think it's worth thinking more about it. But
actually, recently I've been thinking about how to, like, the Verts are awesome at bringing cardistry to the mainstream, right?
Right.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
They are literally the best in the game right now.
Yeah, definitely. And
at the same time, it feels like they are tackling it in one specific way, i.e. the cool dude way, where when you see it, you think to yourself, I want to be like them. Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
But I've been thinking to myself, like, is there a way I could like do it in a completely different way that targets the female demographic of cardistry? So I've been watching a lot of like hot K-pop boy bands, and like, that's sexy. Nice.
Right.
That guy is hot.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a lot of reaction videos to those videos where girls are like squealing and whatnot. and I've been taking note at the timings in which they squeal in relation to
interesting
videos and the build up to everything right before the scene that gets them excited.
Right.
I mean like emotionally excited.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get you.
So the guys in the chat. So I've actually been like trying to figure out like a pattern that I can use to try to make a cardistry video that is directed towards goals. But it's still in the works.
Right. Yeah. That's actually really interesting. Because I don't watch much, or I'm not really in the world of things like K-pop at all. But from what I've heard and seen, there's a lot of there's like definitely a formula to it, and a lot of science that goes into it. So yeah, trying to reverse engineer that and see how it applies to cardistry is a really interesting exercise.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, we will never be as mainstream as K-pop.
Yeah.
But if we get 0.00001% of their audience,
yeah,
that's good. I'll take it.
Yep.
I'll take it. And then we can shift the gender balance to maybe like 90% male and 10% female.
Got to start somewhere. Yep. But yeah. So, anyways, let's shift gears a little bit. I think let's see. So we have a couple questions here. One thing that I really want to talk about with you is also yourself as a cardist. What you do when you do cardistry, what you do when you come up with moves, what you do when you learn moves, maybe. I think that's a good place to start, actually. One of the questions in my census was how much of the cardistry that you do is stuff that you learn versus how much is stuff that you've created. So, like, off the top of your head, do you have an idea of what that is like? What the separation is?
I think it will be close to, say, 80% my own stuff and 20% stuff that I learned.
Right.
Or maybe even somewhere between 80 and 90%, I guess. The stuff that I learned, the cardistry that I learned, most of it is from very long ago, from when I first started cardistry, i.e. Sybil variations. Actually, most of the Sybil variations I do is my own variations as well. So Sybils, fans, spreads, one-handed cards, two-handed cards. Let's take out Sybils, it's two-handed cards. Aerials, I'm very interested in aerials. I really like how aerials captures the audience's imagination and the rest. So basically these 5 things, I took the basics and I learned it. And then I told myself, like, let's ignore the rest of the community and just go down a completely different path just to see what happens. And for a while, that really worked. And then you sort of get a little stuck. So you start looking backwards and seeing, oh, wow, this is the difference. This is what they're doing now. This is what I'm doing now. I wonder if my style can incorporate a little bit of their style, or I wonder if my style can learn from the thought process of some of the designing of moves of their style and then go further out that way.
Right.
That's the way I think I approached it. And it continued this way until the Verts came out. And then I think that pulled me towards a more like mainstream style a little bit more. But I would say the skill set that the Verts and I use is quite different, even though a lot of people are asking me why I'm not in the Verts.
Right. Yeah, and so obviously you've created a lot of things, both by virtue of being the kind of person that likes creating cardistry more than necessarily learning it. I'm certainly one of those people. And so have you kind of tried to rationalize what your process is like? And actually, before we get to that, I know that's always like a hard question to ask. Like, what is your creative process go? So first of all, Dimitri outlines kind of the difference in creation between hands thinking and head thinking, where hands thinking is kind of the kind of thing where you just kind of screw around with cards and then something pops up and you find it's interesting and you kind of dig into that. Or head thinking is like you think hard, you don't even have cards in hand, you just think about it and then bam, you have a flourish and then you try to make it happen in real. And I don't know. You have a very unique style, and you come up with very unique moves. And so I'm actually very curious about which one it is. If it's both, what the proportion is actually.
For me, I think the only thing I have done with hand thinking is Alt Z, which is a move that looks like this. It's a bit awkward to do it so high.
Yeah.
Yep. But that
right.
And Spin Zero, which is the one that goes like this. These are the only two moves that was sort of hand think. But in terms of head thinking is basically everything else. In fact, when I approach the creation process, it's more, I break it down. I break head thinking down into a few different types. The first one is to think of a variation first and then go and try to make it happen. And then when that doesn't work, make a variation of your variation to make that work. Another one is look at a random object and figure out a way to recreate it. So let's say this Coke can.
Right.
Exactly. Maybe I want to find a way to emulate a Coke can, and it's I'm going to make a long spirally thing that looks like a Coke can where I can then open up and take I don't know. So,
right, yeah.
So you take the basic shape of a thing. Coke can was a terrible example. Let's go. My usual example is like bicycles. So you're not going to create the whole frame or everything. You just take the main idea, which is 2 wheels. Okay, what can I do with 2 wheels? Maybe something like this, and then I'll find a way to start spinning it.
Right.
And then you realize like, that's nice.
Interesting.
That could work.
Right.
Or fireworks, and then it becomes Jaspas card. There's another.
Right.
I wanted something that goes really small, boom, very big, and then it goes away. Similarly, Jaspas card is like,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So then there is a third thinking process where it's more of like, what do you want to do, and then make it happen. So
yeah.
When I was a kid, I watched this show called The God of Gamblers. It's a Chinese Mandarin show. And in that show, there's just tons and tons of ridiculous things like in a more recent version of the show, there was a guy that did yo, and then in midair, in super slow motion, the cards shuffled themselves. So you could see with CGI the cards going like and then they're just shuffling and then they landed. It was mind-blowing. Right. And particularly for Rainbow Spring, we've seen the cartoon, let me do a spring above my head,
yeah.
And then you realize it's impossible. And then you scale down and make it more practical and figure out how to make the thing you want to happen work. So that's how I came out Rainbow Spring. Ooh, first try. Nice.
Ooh, nice.
Hashtag luck.
Because you always get it first try, of course.
Hashtag strings, magnets. So yeah, that's 3 of the methods I use. There's a 4th method, but I can't remember it off the top of my head right now.
Okay. Yeah.
I wrote it down somewhere.
Okay.
Oh yes, my lecture notes. Buy my lecture notes, guys.
Yeah.
Yes,
nice
it's in there.
Little
segue.
Right. That's really interesting. I've never thought of breaking down the head thinking in so many places, and in so many different ways. I especially like the one where you try to make something that exists real. I find that interesting. It's not something that I've ever done, so maybe it's something I'll try to do, because it is kind of a way to get away from variations of everything, because it's really easy just to just try to do variations of everything, right? You see Sybil and you're like, what can I do with that? Maybe if I add another packet, variation. But it's not quite as
chin.
Yeah, yep, there you go. Chin Sybil. But yeah, so that's a really interesting approach. And there's also components to cardistry, which is once that you have the mechanics, how do you present it? And I think for a lot of your material that comes to mind, those are very closely linked to each other. Have you ever thought of it as like a 2-step process where you first come up with the mechanics and then come up with the presentation, or are they really just linked together and impossible to take apart?
What do you mean?
So, like, for example, this is my favorite example all the time. I don't know if this will work. This will work.
Okay.
Do this? All right.
Ooh, nice microphone.
Thank you.
Expensive?
Only the best for the live stream. Actually, that's not true. There's definitely better microphones than that, but you should have it. So let's look at this cut, which is seen in negative space, and it's actually, oh shit, my hands are kind of dry, so.
It's a really difficult move as well.
Yeah, it's kind of wibbly wobbly, but this is a move in negative space, which you might not recognize like this because I present it very differently. But these are the mechanics that I first came up with, and it's kind of like a, it's interesting. It's got a cool closer. Middle is all right. But this move completely changed if you think about isolating one hand and then the other, right?
Ooh. Yes.
So that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that you can have something that you have the mechanics down, but then that's not quite enough to fully sell the flourish. You can still do some things, and it works particularly well with cuts. But you can do things on top of that to really sell it in the best possible way, to show the flourish in its best possible light. Is that something that you can identify with at all, or
yeah,
like?
Of course. Of course, I completely identify with that. Like, cardistry, if you think about it, there are two components: the inside and the outside, right? And okay, no, wait, that's going to go into a very long tangent.
Okay.
Basically, yes, I think that cardistry is also a performance at the same time, particularly when you're performing it. It's a performance on video or in person. So, like any other performance, you need to find out you need to figure out what's the best way, in your opinion, to perform it and make it interesting or entertaining or worth learning for your viewer. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I suppose in a way that's kind of goes back all the way to breakdancing, right? Where that's a whole component. There's like what you actually do with your body, and then there's like adding a little spice to it. Part of why I was bringing this up is because when I think of things like Card Engine, right? Which is the move I decided to do for the posts, partially because it kind of makes sense with breakdance go arounds, which is a thing that I do a lot.
And that was an awesome performance. Good
Well,
job.
thank you. Means
So
a lot.
sick.
Yeah, the move is already hard to do, but getting it so that it like turns really slowly is like the next level. And in that case, I think there's maybe less space than with the cuts to really present it properly. But then there's the next component to it, which is, I remember in the video where you first showed Card Engine, I forget what it's called. Was that the video called?
Card Engine.
Yeah, it was called Card Engine. Yeah, I remember that it was like a super slow-mo video, and you like do this, and that already feels like a bit of a move, right? Where you just hold it like that, and because it's slow motion, then I remember the music picks up, and then it's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, and then you do the rest of the move, and that's still like yet another way to present the move, is to think about it in the video, in the context of video. What else can you do on top of that to best present it? I think that was like a great use of slow motion.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, so another interesting question that I always have for people in my live streams is, what are your pet peeves when you see other people's cardistry, or even your own cardistry? What are things that you see people do and kind of like grind your gears, things that kind of annoy you? You're like, hated when people do that. I have a couple of them, and I've talked about them on the stream before. Do you kind of see what I mean?
Yeah. Let me see. To me, the worst thing in any video is when you have bad lighting.
Yeah.
Like, I made this mistake when I first started out with cardistry, so I can understand that it is difficult to get right when you first first do video.
Right.
But my gosh, it really makes me like, no. So for example, I've seen videos where the guy is like setting out a very nice camera on the table, and then he's showing his setup process, and then he shakes the camera a bit, and it shows this beautiful window with his curtains closed, and then there's like a strong stream of light coming in. Like, why did you just leave it like at least open halfway, or why did you close it? and then as the video goes along and the sun sets a little bit more, the video becomes super grainy.
Oh no!
No, make it end. That kills me. Which is why in all my competitions I tell people to get out of their houses and go out and film, because it for most people, it makes a lot of difference. I also really don't like bedroom videos. Bedroom videos make me sad.
Wow, that's strong.
Yeah. And I don't like videos where you do a cut, regardless of how well done the cut is and all that, and then you put it in your hand, and then the shot just lingers on that deck being there for like 2 seconds more than it needs to be. Like, please cut the video now.
Yeah, it's done. I get it. Yeah.
like he closes and then cut it, please. Cut it. Yeah. And these are the kind of videos that I like. I am considering doing reactions to bad videos, but at the same time I don't want to discourage people from videos.
Yeah, it's I see what you mean. So that's mostly in terms of filmmaking. What about in terms of people's cardistry, in terms of their moves, and specifically, is there anything that comes to mind for that in terms of pet peeves?
I don't have any pet peeves. Like, I think all cardistry is fine. If there's a style of cardistry that I don't enjoy, but it is produced moderately well, at least it's not like produced badly, I can enjoy the video too.
Right.
No, that's filmmaking as well.
Well, you can go ahead still.
Music that doesn't match the shot. For example, you put like some classy music and then it's a bedroom shot, or you put like really hardcore music and then it's a bedroom shot. And that's the kind of thing that like when you perform a move and then you choose the worst angle possible to present the move, like my face says, oh yeah. Maybe you want to get a nice wink at the camera, you go like and then the audience can't see anything. That grinds my gears as well, which is also a filmmaking thing rather than a perform.
Cardistry thing. Well, no, I think it is. Like, especially if you're thinking about original moves, there's definitely one thing that I am very conscious about, especially recently, is what I call obstruction, which is when you have cardistry that happens, but you have your hand in front of it. It's like, sometimes there's no angle that works. Like your move could be really cool, but your hand is in front of most of it. And I'm trying to think of examples because I've definitely done that. There's potentially, I think Cartesian has a bit of that problem where like here you can't really see anything. Luckily, it works out because this presents everything properly.
That looks great. In fact, it feels very open towards the end.
Mostly thinking about the beginning. The opener is anyways kind of just a setup more than a proper opener. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But I think something Sisyphus kind of has that where like the card kind of disappears there.
I feel you.
So a lot of it's very easy to only focus on the packets themselves and the cards themselves, and forget that your hands can be in front of it, especially because you know exactly, like as the flourisher, as the performer, you know exactly what the cards are doing because you've seen the thing a million times. But the audience doesn't. The audience doesn't know what you're doing. You have to show them what you're doing for them to understand what's going on.
Completely agree.
All right. So let's see. All right, more questions. Let's go.
Can I take one question from Yuho?
Oh, of course. Go ahead.
Not really a question. He says, go out and film in Finland when it's FN -20 outside. Yeah, I get that when I say go out, I don't mean like go into the fields or go to the trees. I mean like find a nice location to film at. The truth is, I don't hate the bedroom aesthetic as much as that's not the bedroom itself is not the problem. It is the problem that we don't like dress up the bedroom properly to make it look good. And by that I don't mean like fold your bed and put away your used clothing. I mean more of like there needs to be a certain aesthetic to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you make a video, the whole frame is part of the video. So, you know, you'd like to think that's the cardistry is the only thing you care about, but that's not always the case. It can be in sometimes. But you definitely get like between a video that's a bedroom video with the same moves as one that's outside. The one that's outside, in quotes,
wins
is better. Yeah. And also, I think part of that is because if you make it like a video that's not in your bedroom, you're inherently going to try harder because it's more of an adventure. It's more of like a thing. Whereas, you know, if it's Sunday and it's about 3 p.m., you're like, oh yeah, I guess I'll make a video now. Then you're not quite in the same mindset of trying to do the best possible work you can, which I think is also really big components to just having a good video.
That makes absolute sense.
Yeah. So again, in terms of cardistry stuff, I think one really important question from earlier, I didn't copy who it was, but someone asked for you, Jaspas, what's your favorite position to sit in while creating? Is like sitting crisscross on the floor, in a chair, laying down? What's your preferred position?
That's an interesting question. Lately, I realized that I create when I am watching a movie and I'm just like eating chips. I'm like, oh shit, I just got a great idea. And I just pause the movie and then I do the move and see whether it works. And as I do that now, I mean watching a movie at home, not in a theater. Then I set up one camera, film it on a selfie video real quick for my own reference. Lock the phone, set it aside, continue watching the movie. Whether movie or anime or cartoons or basically I'm watching something. I don't find that I create very well when I sit down and like just gonna create a new move. Actually, that's not true. Actually, it's more of like that's interesting. I just realized that the moves that I create through intentional thinking, it's more of while I'm daydreaming and doing something else, like maybe playing games or watching a movie. And then I think about cards halfway through because the thing is so boring. And I construct it in my head and then I go and do it. Whereas when inspiration strikes, it's usually moves that are a bit more weird.
Right. And I think that matches pretty well with what you were talking about earlier in terms of head thinking based off of inspiration from the world of like real objects. And I can see how if you're watching a movie, then there's something that you might see which makes you think of something else, which makes you think of something else, which makes you think of like, oh, maybe I can do that with cards. And so in that sense, I think it makes sense for you to spend more time or being maybe more successful with exploring things or thinking about new cuts or new flourishes rather outside of your comfort zone necessarily, or like that's not what I meant. That was a different point. Or while watching something else, while being inspired by something else.
Being inspired is a very good like way to be inspired. Wow.
We're getting deep on the live stream today. Thanks for joining for such deep talk. But yeah, I see what you're saying. It's inspiration is kind of a crucial component to cardistry, which is why I think it's, you know, part of the creative block, I think, is being stuck in a loop where you're always thinking the same thing and trying the same things over and over again. And the thing that I always do for that is just change my environment, change the music I'm listening to, go somewhere else, somewhere I've never been, somewhere I've never really done cardistry before. You know, do something different to change things up so that I'm not stuck in the same loop. And you know, it doesn't always work, but it works out sometimes. Do you have anything that's any like things that you do when you have a creative block, when you have like when it's been a while since you haven't created something, or that you want to create something but you don't quite have like an idea?
I'm sure I do. What do I do when I can't think of something? Sometimes I drink coffee, sometimes I drink alcohol, and I mean that's not all I do.
Right.
But sometimes I do that, and sometimes I do that just to get myself in a different like emotional state. Sometimes like you mentioned, I go to somewhere different to get into a different headspace, or sometimes I watch movies, and I think that's why I create quite a bit while watching movies. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So one question, which is slightly, actually, there's one question I want to get to, but I want to stay on the topic of cardistry, and I mean cardistry specifically, like the actual thing, which is Martin Ortiz Hidalgo. I butchered that. I'm sorry. Asks, how do you get conscious of your style?
Ooh, wow.
Tough question.
I think to get conscious of your own style, very much about it is what you want to do, right? For me, what I want to do is I want to create things that surprises other cardists, that inspires other cardists. So because of that, I intentionally don't learn a lot of other moves, because these other moves it's unlikely that it will inspire an audience that has already seen that same move before.
Right.
Much less if the move that I'm learning is like Pandora or the worm or squeeze. If you take that to its ultimate level, you may inspire people from how fast you do it or how smooth you do it, but you are not gonna open new doors in their heads, to me. So for me, that's my goal, to inspire. For some other people, especially, I realize a lot of Chinese cardists, mainland Chinese cardists, like they want to get as close to perfection as possible. Like they want their move to be exactly the same as the person they look up to. So
interesting.
When I was at the first Chinese cardistry con that I attended, which is 2 years ago, there was someone doing a lecture on the perfect squeeze. Because there basically everyone can do squeeze. It's it's been sent around a bit. So they and then a guy was lecturing, and he was like, okay, today I'm gonna teach you the perfect squeeze. And then he broke Darren's video down frame by frame, and he started talking about, look, his left hand is not moving as much as his right hand here. And then here his left hand moves a little bit, and then his right hand moves out. Then everybody was like, oh yeah. This teacher knows what he's talking about. And then I started, and then I think he played a video of Darren doing squeeze at full speed, and then he compared it to his own video, and he tried to frame it exactly the same, and it was almost identical. It was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
This guy. So they value like the perfectness, the copying perfectly, quite a lot. But this culture seems to be changing now as well.
Interesting.
I think right now they are breaking out of the idea of like learning from the current big heads, and they're trying to develop the people that are leading in the Chinese community are trying to develop their own style as well. So that was the Chinese community.
Yeah, shout out. And so to get back to the original question, how do you get conscious of your own style? Like as a cardist, like as you're developing, you're creating things, at what point do you kind of put a handle on what your style is? If that makes any sense. Do you have any thoughts on that? Maybe best off with your own experience, based off of your experience. Like, do you remember like a bit of a point where you realized like you were able to put into words what your style was like?
Like, at what point was I able to describe and to know that this is my style? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Basically, at one point I realized, I really enjoy doing this one style. This kind of moves always feels nice. I like that kind of moves. And as I realized I enjoy doing this style more, I did it more, and then I enjoyed it even more because I got better at it. And that's when I think I settled on my style. Like, I really enjoy it. I like how it looks. Okay, it's my style.
Yeah. I think that's kind of close to my experience as well. It's just, there's things that you like, and when you create things, there's things that you do, and the combination of those kind of end up constructing your style. And I think part of how that works is that Patrick Varnavis, in his Cardist Touch Portrait, says that you create things because you want things, right? The cuts that I create are things that I want to exist, and so I make them exist. And so your style is kind of a reflection of what you want to exist in the world. And so maybe that's one way to approach what your style is kind of figure out what is it that you think you can bring to cardistry that either people haven't done, or people haven't done well enough, or people haven't explored as well. And so does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, here on the stream, we break out the big brains,
Yeah, here on this stream, we think really hard and leave awkward periods of silence. Like,
Let's appreciate this moment of reflection for, let's say, 10 minutes. Okay. All right, let's move on. Okay. So let's see. I think I saw another interesting question. We've been going for some amount of time. I had that just pulled up real quick. So I know that it is pretty late where you are. So maybe we won't dwell for that much longer. But
do you have a lot of questions left?
There are always more questions.
Okay.
But I think
shall we do a quick fire round?
Let's try to do a quick fire round. A lot of people have been asking when will you tease the next the new deck that you've already teased to Patreon supporters? Soon. All right, you heard it here first. It's soon.
To be more specific, maybe Valentine's Day.
Ooh,
just as a lovely little present for you guys.
Wow, nice.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's certainly interesting, given that I know what the design looks like. Valentine's Day is an interesting.
That's a good point. Oh fuck! I know what the first teaser looks like. Okay.
Here on the stream, we make great revelations about future marketing strategies. All right, quick fire. Do you think it is better to start younger or older?
Younger, way younger. You learn faster.
Yeah, you learn faster. You have more time. That's really it. And also, when you're younger, you have the opportunity to be older later, whereas when you're older, you no longer have the opportunity to be younger. So.
Yep. Very, very deep.
Oh yeah, that's, as I said, this is the live stream where we get very deep. Let's see. Okay. Lots of people kept on asking about the deck, so we have a response for that. Of course, people are going to keep asking because, of course, they weren't paying attention, but it's fine. Let's see. Jaspas, this is a really old question that I copy pasted at the beginning.
Yes.
At CardistryCon this year, who were you most starstruck to see for the first time?
Patrick Varnavis.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
I was quite starstruck to see Bøje Carlsen. But in total, all I managed to say to him was, "Hey, Baya, it's you." Huh, huh, shake hands. Throw him a hug. He threw me a hug. I gotta go. I'm with my girlfriend. Okay, bye, Baya. And then he left. I never saw him again.
Until Barcelona.
Yeah. And then in Barcelona, it really felt like I connected with him. And all of you guys, of course. But like, because I couldn't say much to him in the at CardistryCon.
Right. Yeah. And I think we're kind of the same way, actually. I just saw you like exactly once. I don't know how this happened. But it's like, because like when you start having 300 people in a room, then there's like statistically more of a chance that you'll never talk to someone in the room. Not just because, like, you know, you're standing here in the room, I'm standing here, and, you know, I decided to go to the restroom and you decided to go get some food, and so, you know, we walk by at the same time. And so I think I don't know how we just like miss each other. So Barcelona was great at the very least. Well, among other things, because we could actually talk, and that was nice.
And Barcelona was a much more intimate situation where it's like we are now roommates or housemates, and it felt more real. It felt like no one else was watching us and judging us.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with how the Barcelona trip turned out, other than the puking a rainbow.
Yeah. All right, lightning round. What is your favorite fidget move? For both me and you, Jaspas, but let's start with you.
Favorite fidget move? Probably a dribble, to be honest.
Dribble?
Yeah.
Simple but effective.
And when you get the sound perfect. Oh, yeah.
Let's see if I can get this. These cards are kind of clicky.
Oh no, I apologize.
Yeah, I blame you.
Ooh,
not bad.
Nice.
I think for me, actually, this is one move that I apparently do all the time without noticing. Over Barcelona, Nicola Supertramp kept asking me like, "Oh, what was that move?" And I had no idea what he was talking about for like 2 days. But it's this thing called Sigma Toss.
Dude, Sigma Toss.
Yeah, it's a really fun move. It's not very difficult. Yeah, maybe someone someday should make a tutorial for it. I think it'd be great.
I mean, if someone makes a tutorial for it, it has to be you.
That's true. Yes, of course. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I would have to find an appropriate moment to do a tutorial for that move. But we'll see.
That would be really exciting. And you guys heard it here first. Matt says he's gonna make one, I think.
Yeah, that's what I said. All right. So one question that someone has been asking repeatedly, and I think is a very good question, asked by Ooble Dooble, also a great name, which is, how can I, as a cardist, make an impact on the community?
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I assume that when he says make an impact in the community, he means in general. He doesn't mean like create a move that changes the life of everyone, lives of everyone. Just in general, to make the cardistry community more popular, more famous, more pleasant for everyone within it, and more enjoyable. Basically, everyone is happier because of whatever you do. I think the best way to do that is to represent cardistry, to number one, practice cardistry. Number two, represent it to lay people as something positive. Don't go around like throwing cards at things. Don't go around like being a nuisance and like doing giant springs right beside people. Just
cardistry pranks.
Yeah, don't do that. Just present cardistry as something like oh, these kids are having fun and they're not being annoying. And by doing that, you are basically an ambassador for cardistry. When you do cardistry outside of the context of your own room and with other cardists alone, you are an ambassador for cardistry, and present it in a way that it doesn't make us look like hooligans or like idiots, basically. Don't Jake Paul it.
Right. Yeah, and I think I think you're an interesting person to ask, because we actually talked about this on our way to the airport when we left Barcelona, which is kind of, what can you do to have an impact on the community? What does it mean to really do things for the community? And I think it's very easy to just go straight to like saying, okay, I want to make a living off of cardistry, and I'm going to make a deck of playing cards. And that works for some people, few people really. And the thing is that's not the right place to start. I mean, making a deck of playing cards can be the right thing to do, but not just for the own sake of the deck of playing cards. And I think for you, it's it makes particularly sense because School of Cardistry is not about the playing cards. It's about the YouTube channel, the School of Cardistry, and things like that. So I think there's also a problem that if you'd want to make a new deck of playing cards, you have to compete with all of the other decks, and with the number of companies we have, it's a lot. Now, I think the most effective thing is to look at your local community and kind of start from there and think, okay, so what is, who else around me does cardistry? What can I do to bring us together? There's, I think a really good example of that is a Montreal community. There's a person, Carson, who very actively does whatever he can to get jams together, through a little contests, keep the Facebook group active, and things like that. And those are, I think, really, really important. And those are the things that keep the local community together. And as those grow, you're contributing to the whole community growing as a whole. And so in a similar vein, you can kind of look at the community, look at how you do cardistry, and think about, okay, so what are problems that we face that we maybe don't think about that much. For example, Chase noticed that doing cardistry in really humid weather just doesn't work, and so he made squids. And that's he makes a living off of that now. But is also a really important part of the cardistry community now. So I think coming at it from an almost entrepreneurial standpoint of okay, so where, what do people need, and what can I do to improve that? And it doesn't have to be in a form that makes money. You can do things like start a census of the community, to toot my own horn a little bit. And
completely. That's very useful. Statistic is very useful.
Yes, yeah, and also something that we might not have as much, but I'm working on changing that. So yeah, do things. Think about what you can do, and then also go ahead and do them. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Yeah, and don't be an annoyance in public. Really, don't. Be a bit more socially aware. Especially, okay. Back to the thing that we were talking about, I think half an hour to an hour ago, about guys that bring their female friends to cardistry meetups and then just leave them there, right? I think we should have a basic course of how to introduce your friends to your other friends for all cardists. When the poor girls.
Yeah.
Usually the guys don't have a problem if they are awkward or quiet. Some other guy met. So how long have you been doing cardistry? Boom, friends.
Yeah.
But for the girls, everyone's nervous and it's so. And then we keep losing girls that join cardistry. They just leave after 2 months because everyone's a weirdo. And once they're not in front of them, they start texting them hey, how long you been doing cardistry?
Yep. Pro tip: don't be a weirdo. One thing you can do, actually, if you want to find examples of things not to do, you go to reddit.com/r/niceguys, and there's a bunch of screenshots of people being really weird, and those are templates for things not to do. So start there if you have any problems with that. But yeah, that's true, and I think there is something about the kind of person that decides that they want to spend hours in their own room playing with cards isn't necessarily, might be more inclined to be socially awkward. And I know I've certainly can relate with that, but it is something you can improve and get better at.
Yeah, definitely.
So that is an important component to it.
When I was much younger, I was quite socially awkward as well, and it gets better, guys. And you just need to be willing to learn and improve. You'll get better.
Yeah. So on somewhat the same topic, someone asked, I think, wait, was it just now? Yes, Skybreaking Wolf asks, how can I present cardistry to my friends so they'll get into it?
Oh wow. I am of two thoughts. Like I have two basic mentalities towards it.
Sure.
Towards people that seem busy. For example, you have this friend that is like he's always studying or always playing games. There's never a moment in his life where he just take it slow and chill. I just wait for them to ask me to teach them, and if it never happens, it never happens.
Right.
To people that are more like they're jumping between multiple things, I'll introduce it to them, and I'll try to get them interested in it, like seriously interested in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, actually, continue.
Sometimes, if I'm not very good at it, if you're not very good at it, I suggest maybe showing them videos you think would impress them, like the Verts videos, like maybe Card Engine. I kind of like that video. Babel is a nice vertical video. If you're on mobile, you can show your friends. and yeah, I mean, just share really powerful videos with your friends.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I've been noticing recently is presenting cardistry is more of a creative endeavor, because it can very easily look like, because when I show people cardistry, one of the first things they ask is like, oh, and where'd you learn all of this? And then, I answer, well, all the things that I do pretty much are things that I've created. And that's weird to them because they see cardistry as kind of like juggling. And in juggling, unless you're like, you've been doing it for a decade, it's very, very difficult just because of the medium itself to create anything new, which is just not the case in cardistry. Cardistry is, I think, a lot closer to music in that sense, where it's very easy to create something new. Creating something good, I'll grant you, is very difficult. But it is possible, and it is accessible. You've seen cardists that are, doing really, really cool stuff after just starting and after having doing cardistry for 2 years, which is crazy to me because that's very little time. And so trying to present cardistry as a creative endeavor, because I think it really is not, very obviously, if you're the kind of person that creates cuts, displaying that I think is interesting. But also even if you're not, then, because cardists are always learning things, cardistry to them still relies on the innovation of other people, right? And that's still important to them. So getting that across, I think, is interesting because it makes cardistry kind of a different thing. It's not quite like juggling or pen spinning and all of those things, where creating something new is really difficult due to the medium. Cardistry is just not like that. So is that something?
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree, because the medium of juggling is basically, if you strictly want to be juggling, there's only one thought process. Oh no, that sounds so bad to juggling. It's basically you throw a ball and you have to catch it. That's the rules.
Yeah.
And once it leaves your hand, basically physics is gonna say it's gonna move here, and if you throw it this way, it's gonna land that way. Of course, you can stop it in mid-air before it completes the entire trajectory. But other than that, there's only so many things you can do, and so many permutations of those things that you can do. But with cardistry, it's a medium that is really odd. I think the only real rule in cardistry is the deck starts like this and it ends like this. That's it. Heck, sometimes people don't even end like this. They just go into like they show the best part of their move, and then they don't have a closer. Then they just cut off the move there. Not throwing shade. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
They will work towards having a closer, but sometimes the popular stuff don't even have closers yet.
Yes. Yeah. That's certainly something I feel very strongly about. People
Oh, it is. It is.
seen me criticize certain things.
So yeah,
On Instagram.
It's never gonna end. I think cardistry is never gonna end, and it's gonna be like.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really unique thing. I think one of the really interesting things to think about in terms of cardistry is that we all know we have 52 cards, right?
Yeah.
53 if you have one of these. But
isn't that 51?
51 is it? Yeah, I think it's 51. Yeah,
-1.
Yeah, you're right. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, you have the 52 cards, and the thing is, you could think, oh yeah, you can do a lot of things with 52 cards, but it's almost like a continuous medium. Like you can cut anywhere, and you don't know exactly where you cut. Like it's roughly a certain proportion of the deck. But this is basically a continuous medium instead of a discrete one, which I think is fascinating. You can have like a bunch of things that are kind of fluid in a way. And it's really cool. I love cardistry. It's great.
Me too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it crashes and sometimes it flows.
Exactly.
Cardistry is amazing.
Like water, my friend.
Yes, like water.
All right.
Yep.
So let's see. I think we can start to wrap up. Their questions seem to be kind of whittling away. I think I tried to answer some of the most interesting ones. No offense to the questions I didn't answer. But yeah, so anyways,
let's give them 10 seconds, 15 seconds to write your last questions, and then
we'll do last chance for a question, and we'll do like a lightning round. In the meantime, I have a question for you, Jaspas.
Yeah.
I was doing my research for this live stream, as I always do, and looking through all your videos, and there's one video I couldn't find, which is I think you know exactly which one it is. It's the one where you say, "I think I can win this with just one card."
Oh, netcode.
Yeah, netcode.
It's not on YouTube because the Japanese anime music companies they pull down videos very, very quickly, and they don't even want to take your ad money. I was thinking like, oh, if they're gonna take my revenue, fine. It's not like gonna make a lot of money, but they just took it down. So
right,
yeah,
that's
but you can find it on both Facebook and Vimeo.
All right. Well, I'll have to look at that because I remember seeing that first time with Ryuji back when it came out because it was 3 to 4.
Like beside him, or
what?
Like you were beside Ryuji?
Yes. Yeah. Well, because we went to the same high school.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Yeah. Origin stories. But yeah, and so that was a very interesting experience. It's a very different video. And especially as someone who is not in the world of anime, it was very entertaining. So I'll try to find it and look at it. In the meantime,
But the cringy acting though.
What?
I apologize for the cringy acting, but I am very proud of what it turned out to be. So.
Yeah. At the very least, you have to appreciate the video for how different it is. Because a lot of videos are, can be really good, but are kind of all the same. It's really different, and so that's I think important. All right, lightning round. I don't know if you'll want to do this, but Double Tall has been asking, Jaspas, show us the move that you most recently created.
I don't know. I don't remember. It's on my phone somewhere. Next time, maybe.
Next time, maybe on Instagram, probably.
Maybe. I don't know. It's probably on the deck launch for the next deck, I guess.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. So, okay. What do you feel about dropping cards? Is it amusing or devastating?
Neither. After dropping cards for like the 14, 15 years that I've been doing cardistry, it sort of becomes like part of the process. If I don't drop cards, I kind of feel weird. Like throughout this live stream, I dropped cards once, and I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't been dropping for the rest of it. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. It's a kind of a weird but interesting question because sometimes like I I never find it devastating anymore. If anything, like there's something about catastrophic failure which I just find hilarious. In material science, there's a term when something breaks. Textbooks will always call it catastrophic failure, which I find really funny. And so that's kind of how I feel with cardistry. You're like in a really tight grip, and then you're like, ah, shit, and then it all blows up. I find that pretty fun.
Actually, yeah, you brought a very good point. If you still feel like if you still feel devastated that you drop cards, basically you haven't been practicing enough.
I think there is some of that. You shouldn't feel like, oh no, I'm still bad. It's just, another way to approach it is that if you're not dropping cards, you're really not pushing yourself hard enough, right? You're just, I know that when I'm not trying too hard, I don't drop cards. And that just means, you know what? I'm just stuck in all the stuff I already know how to do. Why am I doing that? If I want to be a better cardist, I better work on new stuff. So dropping cards should be an indication that you're doing something different, and that's good. That's a good thing.
Okay.
All right. Blah blah blah. Oh, any specific future plans for the vlog channel?
Hopefully I can stop doing deck reviews.
Why is that?
Right, because I don't know. I didn't sign up for doing daily videos to do like deck reviews. I want to do cardistry related stuff. It's supposed to be a vlog channel, but
right.
But at the same time, people like after watching and analyzing some YouTubers, I realized actually people go through phases. I shouldn't feel too bad about the deck review phase. So
yeah,
let's move along.
And if you do a lot of deck reviews and then you stop, then you can say, yeah, that was my deck review period. I don't do those anymore. You can have a thing to point out in the past saying, yeah, that's not real anymore.
Also, but one of the plus sides of doing the deck review channel is that I'm getting a lot of stuff sent in the mail. Tomorrow's vlog should be quite amusing.
Good. All right, so stay tuned to the vlog. Yeah. All right, so blah blah blah. This is an interesting question. Why did you choose to be such an quote unquote open cardist? Mostly veterans and the big guys stay inactive and quiet.
Okay. Oh, this is a very serious question for me. I find it a very serious question.
Yep.
Like, there's someone in Singapore and someone like in America. We don't, in certain parts of America, we don't appreciate having people to jam with as much as what a lot of other people might. Like Matt, you yourself, you say like you don't really get to see other people that do cardistry, right? And I guess I empathize with people like that, people that don't have a friend to jam with, a friend to hang out with, and as such, I want to be their friend to, because I've heard so many stories of people that came into cardistry, learn cardistry, their friends are playing Dota, then they leave cardistry because my friends are playing Dota, I'm gonna play Dota too,
right?
Or League of Legends, or Overwatch, or whatever game.
Yeah.
And then I realized a lot of it is because there is no community around the person that joins cardistry and then quits. So I wanted to create a platform for people to feel like, I have a friend in Jaspas, even though he doesn't know me by name yet. Maybe one day he will. And a lot of the guys, the international guys, like right now in the chat, Abdullah is there. His name is the Cardician. There is, who else is here? All these are your fans. And Skybreaking Wolf. I forgot his name right now. I apologize, Skybreaking Wolf. Yeah, it's like after a while you sort of like get to know these people and know what kind of jokes they'll make or what kind of sense of humor they have.
Yeah.
And then you can, and it feels like a great feeling. It feels like I know these people even though we haven't met in real life. And therefore I feel like I have become their real life friend without having met them in real life.
It's a very efficient way of doing that, really, because through YouTube and stuff, you can just affect so many people at the same time. And I think like vlogs are not something that I personally watch because of the amount of time that I have in my day that's free. But I'm really happy that there is such a cardistry vlog that people can watch, because like it's what I was saying earlier. You know, part of what was so nice about the Barcelona jam is that it felt like a real thing, because you know there's like the entire environment that was involved cardistry, and I think the vlog is a good way of kind of simulating that. Because although you can't, you know, see everyone in person physically, it's just not possible. You can, you know, make it just at least their virtual life. You know, oh, there's like a vlog, and you know, some people, you know, get cards. They look at new cards. They like to think about design of cards, and they review them and things like that. And I think, you know, having like a daily content also is really important to make it feel like cardistry is a real thing that really exists, and it's not just something that's in your head that you might have imagined.
Yeah.
So yeah, and also I think, I mean, part of that question was also kind of, let's be honest, kind of a diss towards some of the other veterans, and I think also people like myself who don't post very often, and I think, you know, there's their goal is not the same as yours, Jaspas, for example. Necessarily, what they like in cardistry isn't necessarily the community as much, and maybe that's not true actually.
No.
But also,
I mean,
you know,
definitely there are companies out there that focus on on community as well. And I don't really think it's a diss towards other companies. It's not that they are not contributing to community. It's just that I focus on community a bit too much for normal companies to do it.
Right. Yeah. And also, like, you know, if you think about the, like, as a person, I like to keep my life, my personal life private from these kind of things, because, you know, it's just the kind of person I am. And I think there's, again, a correlation between the kind of person that would do cardistry, that would do so much cardistry that they could do it for a living, and how public they want to be. Right. And yeah, so there was someone asked to completely change pace.
Okay, let's go.
You, Jaspas, to give me a challenge. I don't actually know what that means.
Oh,
but, do you have a
so
challenge?
on my channel, every maybe a few months ago, it was much more. A year ago, it was much more common, where I would challenge people to do like make a 30-second cardistry video, but with these specific rules or stipulations.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So, would you like to try? Maybe I'll issue a challenge here, and then we can like follow up on it.
Okay.
On another day.
I can handle a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
All right.
Now, I see behind you, you have 2 computer screens, right?
Yes, those are not mine. Those are my roommates. But I have 2 computer screens here too, so it's fine.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome. So your challenge is you have to film a good-looking cardistry video using only your computer screens as lighting. So you have to figure out a way to make it work.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Let's
go for it. I'm very excited to see what happens.
So because I go to a college, an engineering school, I have 2 monitors, which is not that unlikely. Can I use other people's monitors? Is that
yes, what? Yes, do it.
Okay.
If you can go as crazy as you want.
All right, I like it. I'll have to think about it.
But your room lights cannot be on.
Sure. Only I got that. Okay.
I'm so hyped right now.
I'm excited. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll give it my best shot. Cool. All right. And I think with that, I think this is a good place to stop as much as any. So is there anything else that you would like to say? Any last words? Yes. Any last plugs?
Yes. Let's just redo the entire challenge, that conversation.
Okay.
For like, so that I can cut it out and put it into the vlog when I need to.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'm ready.
Ready?
Yeah.
Hey Matt, I got a challenge for you.
Oh, do you?
Yes, a 30-second cardistry challenge.
Wow.
And that challenge is to turn off all the lights in your room, go dark, and somehow use your computer screens to light your cardistry video.
You know what?
What?
I think it just might do it.
Okay, good.
All right, cool.
I'll
Nice,
take that.
right.
Yep. So now you know what it feels like to be, yeah.
Yeah, no,
The
yeah.
experience.
This is one of the things I noted in Barcelona is that when we first all met up, one thing that you've perfected is the vlog hug, which is where you hold like your camera up here and then do the hug with the other hand so you can film the hug. Which I think it kind of encapsulates that moment as well. It's very vloggy. So
Yes, it is.
I'm glad I can be part of that.
Thank you.
So with that performance, I think, well, first of all, thanks again so much for coming. It's always a good time. People have asked for you to be on the stream for so long, and so finally, I think they'll be pleased. So, yeah.
Thank you guys for watching.
Yep. Thank you all for coming, and we'll catch you all next time.